What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cashed Out, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite all-around lens for the Lumix S5 Mark II, and that's the 24-70 F2.8 S Pro lens. Long name. Very long name. Now, when I first switched over from Canon to Panasonic, one of my main concerns was trying to find a lens that can take the place of my RF 28-70 F2 lens. Now, that lens was a monster. It was like 3 pounds, had so much high quality glass to it, and I loved the images that it created for me paired with the R3. So when I switched over to the S5 Mark II, I landed on the 24-70, and I have not been disappointed. Now, it's not as fast as the F2 on the Canon lens, but even at f2.8, the image quality, the look that it produces is really good. And considering the fact that the Canon lens is a $3,000 lens, and this is like a $1,300 lens somewhere in there, I'm not disappointed at all. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about this lens, how it's become my all-around kind of do everything lens. It rarely ever leaves the body of my camera, and it's actually what I'm shooting this video on right now. And it just does, it's good for almost everything, whether it's a wide shot, medium shots, tight shots. I can do portraits, I can do videos, I can do a little bit of everything with it. So I'm going to talk to you about, guys, a little bit about the specs of it, a little bit about my experience, and just how it's been using this lens throughout the whole, I guess, couple months that I've had the Lumix S5II now. Now, the first thing that you notice when you actually get your hands on this lens is that it's very solid. It definitely reminds me a little bit of that Canon 28-70 in terms of the quality of material. It's not plasticky, it's not cheap, it's made out of metal, it's weather sealed. I would say very meaty.
It's a meaty lens.
And I was not disappointed in terms of the build quality. I really like that. It does not feel cheap at all. The fact that it's part of their S Pro line, I'm like, it actually feels like a pro lens. So I was thankful for that. I was kind of curious because some brands, you get that pro badge on it and it doesn't really necessarily mean anything. It's just kind of there for show. But in this case, it definitely made a difference in terms of the build quality and material of it. I love one thing that I do like about the physical features of it is that instead of utilizing the little tab to be able to switch between autofocus and manual focus, the little switch on the side, it actually uses a clutch function where if you pull back on the clutch, it takes the camera lens from autofocus to manual focus, and you can adjust it, and the shift is very smooth, it's very seamless. And then when you're done, if you want to go back to autofocus, you just got to push up the clutch and it goes back into autofocus mode. But the other piece that I've really liked about this lens is the quality of the glass that's put on it. Now, it's not as big, and the elements aren't as huge as the RF 28-70 from Canon, but it's got really quality glass. I think Leica has partnered with them in terms of certifying this lens, but the glass itself has 4 extra low dispersion layers in front of the elements, and it absolutely does wonders when it comes to like minimizing chromatic aberration. I talked a little bit about that when we talked about the Lumix 50mm 1.8. That was one of the things that you notice. But when it comes to this lens, this 24-70, I have not had any issues with that. And I love experimenting with lighting, so I like shooting at sunset, shooting in different like bright and dark areas. So when you have those shifts in lighting or you have intense lighting, you do notice that fringing in some areas. But in this lens, I have not had any issues with that at all. Actually had some sunset shots at a couple weddings here recently. I had a lot of different scenarios that I've shot it in, and it's just performed. That's what I love about it. I just like having a lens that's just a workhorse that it can take whatever I throw at it and just keep on chugging. So build quality overall, I haven't found anything that's been a disappointment with these lenses. They've been really good, really solid. This S Pro line is really nice, and I love when it comes to the image. I've really loved the image that's come out of this. This is actually when I first got this camera set up. The first thing that I did is I took it outside, shot like basically there was just my car and a few other things outside, and I just took a couple test shots. Like immediately once I set it up, I went out, took a couple test shots, and first thing I wanted to see is how it rendered the colors, how the colors came out of this lens, and I was super happy when I saw the results of it. And I really like it because it's very true to life. I feel like with my Canon, the Canon cameras have a little bit more of a warmer presence. At least my R6 and my R3 did. They have a little bit of a warmer presence to their image. And then here with the Lumix S5II and this 24-70 setup, the image coming out of camera is more natural, like kind of more true to life. It didn't add too much like warmness to the color temperature. It was just very neutral, and I love that because I like starting from that kind of a base and then being able to work with my style when it comes to editing. So really love the way that it rendered the colors, and the colors I feel like just pop. They have a really good pop right off the bat, and then from there, actually I found myself having to almost like desaturate a little bit when it comes to editing my photos and some of my videos as well, just to have to like kind of taper it down a little bit. But I would rather have that than have something that's a little bit too bland, at least for my style. In my taste, that's what I like, and this is what these guys provide, and it's very clean. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the image is very clean, and I am a huge fan of that. That's one of my favorite things. I just love having a clean, colorful, poppy image, and that's exactly what I've gotten from this Lumix pair with the 24-70. So image quality has been fantastic. Just the experience shooting it, I think I've been able to shoot almost everything so far with this lens, and I've really liked the results it's given me so far. Now, I've really loved this lens, as you can tell, obviously, but the one thing that I do feel the only, I guess, downside for me is that the fact that it's only a 2.8 aperture. Now, I would love to have it as a lower aperture, maybe like f2 or something like that, but I know with the lower aperture would also come a higher price tag. So I'm cool with 2.8. I'll make it work. There are just a couple scenarios, like I mentioned in my earlier videos, about those like darker scenarios, maybe those darker weddings, where it would be nice to have that 2.0 aperture, that 1.8 aperture to be able to stop down to, but it's all good. You know, I can make it work with this guy. Obviously, it has not been the one that I go to in terms of those dark scenarios. I'll use the ISO in some regards, in some situations, but if it's really dark, then I always just kind of go down to the 51.8 and I just run with that. So that's the only downside that I've seen so far in terms of this 24-70. But in terms of everything else, I mean, just as an all-around lens, which is what we're talking about, it is absolutely rock solid. I would recommend this lens for anybody that's running the Lumix setup. Definitely get your hands on this lens. You will not be disappointed. So definitely been a great experience for me. If you're in the market for this, lens, I'll link it in the description down below. Let me know your comments. If you guys already have this lens or use something similar, let me know what your experience has been so far, what your thoughts have been on it so far. Would love to hear back from you guys. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video today. We'll definitely catch up with you guys here soon. I'm going to keep on work on staying consistent. I'm going to work on staying consistent and keep these videos popping out for you guys. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy.